afternoon, PS and your team. As per our tradition, we start first by introducing ourselves as honorable members of parliament. Thereafter, we request you to introduce yourself and your team also. So I'll start with honorable members on my far right to start introducing themselves.
Chair, thank you so much. Witness, good afternoon. You're welcome. My name is Peter Piri, member of parliament from Kaika constituency, and a member of this committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Witness, good afternoon. I'm Lusale Simbao, member of parliament for Luansha constituency.
Afternoon, PS. I'm Tyson Sumzingiri, member of parliament for Gwembe.
Thank you so very much, Chair, and good afternoon, PS and the team. I'm Banda Kreo, member of province and a member of this committee.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Minister of Lands and Staff, you're welcome, PS. I'm Michael Katambo, MP.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, witnesses. I'm Tacharota, member of parliament for Chairman North and also member of this committee.
Secretariat.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Good afternoon, Honorable members and Chair. Good afternoon, witness and your team. You're welcome. My name is Max Omwe from the Office of the Clerk of National Assembly.
You are most welcome. My name is Evans Chilongo from the Office of the Clerk.
PS, you can introduce yourself and thereafter allow your members to introduce.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and the committee. My name is Patrick Mcheleka, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. With your permission, Chair, allow me to ask my colleagues from the Ministry to introduce themselves, starting with the Commission of Lands.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, members of the committee. I'm Shadrack Mbewe, Commission of Lands.
Good afternoon, Chair and honorable members of the committee. I'm Agatha Banda. I'm the Chief Registrar in the Ministry.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Crispin Chaewa, Director, Lands.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, honorable members. My name is William Nyundu, Director, Planning and Information.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, honorable members of the committee. My name is Elijah Chimwemwestali, Principal Legal Officer, Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, honorable members. My name is Angonga Jonathan from Legal Department.
Good afternoon, Chair, and good afternoon, honorable members. My name is Jonathan Kaoma, Assistant Surveyor General, Minister of Lands and Natural Resources.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, honorable members of the committee. My name is Alan Dauchi. I'm the Chief Natural Resources Management Officer in the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, honorable members of the committee. My name is Amuzala Kamwanga. I'm in Planning Department of the Ministry.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Delphine Hampande Zulu, the Principal Public Relations Officer in the Ministry.
Thank you very much. And there's one more. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Chair. My name is Doreen Chembetembo from ZNBC.
Thank you very much. And I am Honorable Andrew Tengwa, Member of Parliament for Kawata. PS and your team, we are here to interact. We expect your team and the team of honorable members to have a well thought of discussion so that both parties can benefit. As we start our interaction with your team, we'll confer you with our immunity that we enjoy here, Cap 12, that whatever you say here, it will not disadvantage you, but at the same time, if you feel like misleading us using the same Cap 12, the very same Cap 12 will actually work against you. So PS, we will allow you to present this submission. We'll give you at least 15 to 20 minutes. Then thereafter, the honorable members will start interacting with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, honorable members of Parliament of this committee. I will make a submission, a written submission, which we have since submitted to Parliament through the Office of the Clerk. I will speak to it, and the Chair, be assured that I'll be very well supported by a capable team, and will be able to provide responses to the questions that you may arise. With that said, Honorable Chair, allow me to proceed to make the submission on behalf of the Ministry to the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources on the consideration of the Lands and Deeds Registry Amendment Bill number 13 of 2025. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, on behalf of the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, and indeed on my own behalf, I would like to express sincere gratitude to you and your committee for inviting us to present our oral submission in support of the introduction of the Lands and Deeds Registry Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 13 of 2025, to this Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources Committee. Honorable Chair, honorable members of Parliament, as you may be aware, the mandate of our ministry is highlighted in the Gazette Notice number 1123 of 2021, which is to administer and manage land and natural resources. The specific functions in accordance with the aforementioned Gazette Notice include the following: beaconing, land administration, land policy, land survey and mapping, natural resource policy, registration of lands and deeds, and natural resource research and training. Honorable Chair, honorable members of Parliament, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources has set out to review pieces of legislation relating to land governance in order to facilitate sustainable land use practices, enhancing tenure of security, and promoting equitable access to land resources in Zambia. One of the legislative under review is the Lands and Deeds Registry Act, Cap 185 of the laws of Zambia, which was enacted in 1914. Honorable Chair, honorable members of Parliament, as you may be aware, the Chief Registrar used to cancel certificates of title issued in error, mistake, or where there is fraud or omission, using the powers under Section 11 of the Lands and Deeds Registry Act, Cap 185 of the laws of Zambia, upon application by any person, and also upon allegations being proved to the satisfaction of the Chief Registrar, until the Supreme Court judgment of 2014 in the case of Corpus Legal Practitioners versus Mwanandani Holdings Limited. In the above-mentioned judgment, the court ruled that Section 11 did not give powers to cancel the title, but only to correct errors or omissions on the lands register. The court further ruled that in order to cancel a certificate of title on the account of fraud, omission, or other impropriety, a person must obtain a court order for the cancellation of the title by the Chief Registrar. Following this ruling, the Chief Registrar is not able to cancel certificates of title, even where there are clear errors and fraudulent acquisition of certificate of title. For example, double allocation, forged documents, certificates of title in areas that are restricted, like wetlands, forests, and riverbanks. This amendment seeks to address the current legal interpretation, which requires a court order before the Chief Registrar can cancel the certificate of title, thereby causing delays in service delivery and has negatively affected land administration. As earlier stated, the bill seeks to empower the Chief Registrar under specified conditions and safeguards to rectify such errors administratively without recourse to the courts in order to promote efficiency, reduce costs, and enhance public confidence in the land administration system. Honorable Chair, honorable members of Parliament, we recommend that this committee supports the amendment of Lands and Deeds Registry Act, Cap 185 of the laws of Zambia, which was enacted in 1914 to achieve the following objectives. A, to grant the Chief Registrar the power to cancel a certificate of title. B, to provide matters connected with or incidental to the foregoing. Honorable Chair, honorable members of Parliament, the proposed bill seeks to provide that the Chief Registrar may, on application by an interested person, cancel a certificate of title issued on the following grounds: issued in contravention of this Act or any other written law, issued in error or obtained through fraud, misrepresentation, or concealment of a material fact. In other words, the object of this bill is to amend the Lands and Deeds Registry Act, Cap 185 of the laws of Zambia, so as to provide a clear and efficient legal framework for the rectification of mistakes or errors with regard to the certificates of title issued where the above grounds have been approved by the applicant. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members of Parliament, in conclusion, the proposed amendment to the Lands and Deeds Registry Act is both timely and necessary. It responds to the long-standing challenges associated with the inefficiencies in the current legal framework, particularly the costs arising from the requirement of court orders to cancel certificates of title. In this regard, the bill will significantly enhance and improve efficiency, credibility, and responsiveness of the land administration system. Honorable Chair, honorable members of Parliament of this committee, I therefore humbly urge this committee to support the introduction of the Lands and Deeds Registry Amendment Bill of number 13 of 2025 and recommend its presentation before Parliament for consideration and enactment. I submit for your consideration. I thank you, Honorable Chair and members of the committee.
Thank you very much, witness, for your detailed submission. Honorable members, we are now free to ask for points of clarification from the witness. We will take 3 questions. In fact, since you have a well-gathered team from Ministry of Land, so we'll take 4 questions at a time so that we can enhance our discussion. So I'll start with Honorable Member for Luansha.
Thank you, Chair. PS, your presentation is very clear, and I'm not necessarily going to ask about this, but maybe
I want to find out from you. Have you seen the letter that is circulating where the Commission of Lands is withdrawing a title? And if indeed it is from your office that withdraw, can you please try and explain briefly why that one is being withdrawn? Because I think these are some of the ways that some of the things that will be happening. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Simuzingiri.
Afternoon, PS. Thank you so much for the submission. PS, we have interacted with a number of stakeholders and witnesses. A number of them, they are indicating that instead of this amendment to give powers to the registrar, why doesn't government promote the establishment of a lands commissioner, which in their view they are saying is more representative and with so many interested parties in that commission? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Simuzingiri. PS, I will add one question. Before I get to your submissions, we had one stakeholder who is actually not in support of the bill, and he made this statement to say the Lands and Deed Registry Amendment Bill number 13 of 2025 is not just a legal amendment, but it is a threat to property rights, the rule of law, and constitutionalism in Zambia. I just wanted to hear your comment over this statement, which was actually given by one of the stakeholders who is not in support of this bill.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Honorable Members of Parliament. With your permission, Chair, I want to admit that I've not had sight of the letter that is circulating, and I may not be aware of its contents. However, with your permission, let me call upon my colleagues to help respond to the questions that the Honourable Members of Parliament have posed. I'll start with the Commission of Lands. Commission of Lands, you may respond to those questions that have been posed, and then we'll also ask the Chief Registrar and indeed my Honourable Chair, Honourable Members of Parliament, with your permission. You can also allow me to call upon any of our officers to help respond to the questions that I have posed. Commission of Lands.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you so much, PS. Thank you so much, members of the committee. I will first take the last question, where this proposed amendment is said to be a threat to property right, rule of law, and constitutionalism. Chair, first of all, we need to understand the background of the powers of the Chief Registrar. Honorable Chair and members, as it was stated in our written submission, the Chief Registrar has had powers to cancel title all along. During those times when the Chief Registrar exercised the powers until 2014, no one came through to claim that his right or security of tenure has been affected or impacted. The power we are talking about is statutory power. It's not power that can arbitrarily be used. Chair, property right, we appreciate and we know that the Constitution protects, under Article 16, protects property rights of all holders of property. However, this amendment is not just focusing on any kind of title, or that the chief registrar will just wake up and start cancelling these titles. The procedure has been stated. The grounds have been highlighted. The same grounds which the registrar was relying upon before the 2014 judgment. So we can assure you that this amendment is not a threat to property right, neither is it a threat to rule of law. In fact, its intention is to remedy issues of fraud that we've been faced with because of that judgment. Deliberately, people have been misleading us. As you know, that in land alienation administration, it's not just Minister of Lands involved. There are other players. By the time we are dealing with a final alienation, there are times when we come to discover, after title is issued, that there was a fraud. The chief did not consent, for example. But what was submitted before us was complete, correct documents. But later on it's discovered this chief, in fact, did not even consent. In fact, we come to discover that the whole village is almost being evicted. Those are the issues. You have 2, 3 titles on one property, one same location, different numbers. So, do we want to continue that trajectory, or we correct it? Because that is a threat to rule of law. So, Chair, property protected, the right to property is protected by the Constitution, and this amendment will enhance the rule of law and security of property right itself. There is no threat. Chair, I would want to mention something under Section 11. Section 11 gives power to the registrar to receive evidence of fraud or any entry procured by fraud or mistake. And she's got power to consider such allegations to ensure that they have been satisfactorily proved. That power has always been there. The only deviation that has happened is because now there has to be a court order. When we exercise this power, we worked smoothly without challenges. Why can't we go back? We are not asking for something new. The power is already there. The courts are also there. They will still play the same role they played when Chief Registrar was exercising this power. I think that ends my answer to the last question. I will comment on the second question, why not establish a lands commission? Yes, this is a long-term vision. It's a welcome thing because it's there in the Constitution. But as we speak now, things are not moving. We need this law. And we know through this amendment, once passed, we'll be able to begin sorting out the problems that we are facing. As we are on the other side or other hand, working on establishing the Lands Commission, which requires a law on its own to operationalize. Let me end there and ask colleagues if they have Any addition? Director Lands, Chief Registrar. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. Thank you, please.
We are waiting for the other two questions which haven't been answered. Director Legal and the Chief Registrar. Commissioner of Lands, you may switch off your mic.
Thank you very much, Chair. You asked us 3 questions. The other 2 have been answered, and earlier, as I began to respond to questions, I directly responded to the question that Honorable Osimbawa had asked. Where
okay, we can proceed.
With regard to whether or not we are aware of the letter that is circulating, and I did indicate, Chair, Honorable Chair, that personally I've not had sight of that letter.
Okay. Thank you very much, PS. Let me take you back to your submission on page 4, where you're seeking, where the bill proposes to provide that the Chief Registrar may, on the application by interested person, cancel a certificate of title issued on the following grounds which you have laid down. But my interest is on where you say on application by interested person. The other stakeholders who have submitted, they are claiming that the definition of an interested person is not well defined. Would you be in a position to help us to understand what the definition of an interested person is?
Thank you. Sorry.
I'll ask also Honorable Peter Piri to ask, then Vugui, who follow, then also Honorable Katambo.
Chair, thank you so much. PS, thank you so much for your presentation. Yeah, my question is, I think, PS, we are aware that a title deed is used as a collateral. Say if someone wants to borrow money from an institution, you use or you'll be asked for a collateral, and most of the people uses the title. Now, if a title now is subjected to being cancelled at any given time, according to what you have stated, don't you think that this document is now a risk that even banking institutions will not allow or accept that document now, because they might think at any time it will be cancelled? Yeah, and also the other one, what I wanted to find out is that you said you want to give powers to the registrar because of these mistakes which are on titles, errors, and also frauds. So my question is, where are these coming from? If the process of someone getting a title is threatened, don't you think there's need to enhance the process of getting titles? Say maybe at the council level, if you think the process is somehow not done in good faith, why don't you strengthen the process so that these mistakes or errors are not there, unlike giving powers to the registrar? Thank you so much, Chair.
Okay, Honorable Vubu, you can come in. I think he has asked about 2 or 3 questions, so we'll give them time to respond thereafter. then we can ask follow-up questions. So, Honorable Member for Vowe, you will be next. Thereafter, we'll request the PS to answer the questions that have been asked.
Thank you so very much, Chair, and thank you, PS and the team. I think some stakeholders have submitted before this committee that they were proposing that we should have a withdrawal of this same bill because there was no further consultations. What is your take on that one? I think my other question has been tackled by Honorable Piri, where he wanted to find out where there are these weaknesses which can be dealt with before maybe issuing of a title deed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Vowe. I'll ask PS and your team to please respond to those questions.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. And indeed, the honorable members that have asked questions, second round. Let me, with your permission, Honorable Chair, once again call upon my colleagues from the ministry, starting with the Commission of Lands and the Chief Registrar, and indeed then of my colleagues, the directors, who care to help me respond to these questions that you have ably asked. Commission of Lands.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members, and thank you, PS. Let me take the first one. Who is this interested person? Chair, the background, again, is very important for us to appreciate the background. If we go to section 11, it says any person who alleges that there's a fraud, as long as he proves it, then the chief registrar can make changes. Any person. But in this bill, we have tried to narrow it. Interested person. Remember, we are dealing with land. How do you define interest in land? There are only two interests in land. So the legal interest, where you have title, or equitable interest, where your interest is not registered. So the interested person we are talking about here is a person with interest in land, either equitable or legal interest. That is the intention of this bill as regards interested person. The second question. Certificate of title used as collateral. Banks may be skeptical that maybe thereafter, after releasing their money, then the title will be cancelled. Remember, we are not targeting any kind of title. The bill itself has stipulated that there's a procedure. So genuinely or duly issued titles are not the target of this bill. They are not the target of this bill. This bill, as it states, is clearly those that are captured or for those titles that fall within these grounds that have been highlighted in the bill. So banks should even be, comforted, because there will not be, once this law is passed, banks, no one will get a forged title to go and use it as security for a loan, because we'll capture it before it goes. Let me, Chief Registrar. I'll ask Chief Registrar to take it up from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and honorable members, for those questions. I'll start by adding to what Commissioner has mentioned on the issue of collateral. and the fear that the banks may have that this will take away the security that is given as collateral. As Commissioner mentioned, actually, this is actually meant to protect the banks as well, because currently we have situations where we have a title that is fraudulently issued. Tomorrow someone will use that same title to go and borrow money from the bank. Then the banks will come, they want to verify. Some of the banks don't even come before lending the money. We find they give money, they come to find out after the status of that title, and we tell them that this title is actually fraudulent. So, on the other hand, other than the banks being scared that the security of tenure of property holders is being taken away, this should give them comfort that we are trying to protect the banks as well. Then on the issue of, instead of giving power to the chief registrar to cancel titles where there are errors and fraud, why wouldn't we consider to strengthen the process? So even now, when we're issuing a title, there are processes that are there, that are followed. But I'm sure you may know that in every process, there are human errors. There is fraud which is actually unforeseen. So what we are asking for in those areas where you try to follow the process, but somehow there's some error that happens due to human error or not, or there's some fraud that is not detected, we should have power to cancel the titles. I'll give you an example of some of the measures we've started doing in trying to strengthen the process to alleviate this fraud before we issue titles. For example, we have integrated with the Zambia Revenue Authority because we noted one of the weaknesses that we had in changing ownership and issuing new titles was through people forging property transfer tax certificates. So in order to alleviate this and strengthen the process, we integrated with ZRA, and we're able now to have an interface and confirm if a certificate of from ZRA is authentic or not. So despite the measures that we are trying to do to strengthen, there are always errors and fraud. And what we are saying is that can we have power where we have these that are clear to deal with the titles and cancel them? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have seen there is a hand. I wanted also him to come in. There's a hand maybe wants to add to the call. Please.
Yes, Chair. I want just to make an addition in the introduction of interested person. We've been following, Chair, the debate that has been happening on this committee and even on social media that people are saying this is the first time the word interested is appearing in this piece of registration. To the contrary, Chair, Section 87 of this same piece of registration, Cap 185 of the laws of Zambia, provide that any interested person or registered proprietor who is aggrieved with the decision of the registrar can actually appeal to court. In telling that chairperson that this interested person term has always been there, meaning that it is any affected person. The effect could be legally or equitable. I submit.
Thank you very much. Honorable Katambo, you can come in, Honorable Chalo. Sorry. The question, as you answer the questions that will be asked by Honorable Mutaya Chalo and Honorable Katambo, the question which was asked by the Member of Parliament for Vovwe hasn't been answered.
Thank you. I can go ahead. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. PS, many of the stakeholders that have come before this committee have indicated that the cancellation of a title is a legal process that requires an independent arbiter to make a determination after hearing both parties. Already the Lands and Deeds Registry Act, Section 11, as highlighted by your commissioner, gives the chief registrar powers to correct mistakes or omissions or errors on title without a court order. Why do you still insist to take this route? Don't you think, PS, the challenges that are going to be found or that are found in the issuance of title deeds are administrative issues and should be sorted out administratively rather than you coming up with this bill? What is your comment?
Honorable Mutaya Chalo.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, PS, for that presentation. PS, issues of land are quite controversial. They are very, very sensitive. That's why you find that even countries go to war because of land disputes. And some stakeholders feel that there is no need for us to enact this bill at a supersonic speed without allowing for a broader consultation. Now, PS, you mentioned that this bill is going to enhance efficiency in land administration. Don't you think that is to the contrary? Because you are now lengthening the process, chief registrar, minister, court. Unlike previously, where someone is not happy, if there's a dispute, automatically this person goes to court and gets a remedy there. So don't you think that you are trying to lengthen the process, which will disadvantage especially people from rural areas, marginalized people, for them to be trekking to Lusaka every now and then? So what is your view on that one?
Okay, then I'll add up also maybe one or two questions. PS and your team, the other stakeholders who appeared here, they were concerned with the powers that we are going to grant to the chief registrar. They're saying if the chief registrar is given those powers and she decides to cancel title deeds, imagine Zambia has probably over 20 million people, and maybe about close to 3 point something million people have got title deeds. Don't you think that this might trigger a lot of court cases just by the way of the chief registrar cancelling some of these titles? Of course, I understand what you're saying, that your target is some of these that were issued erroneously, fraudulent obtained, and the like. The other question, if I heard the chief registrar correctly, she said that the Ministry of Lands and ZRI, they have actually integrated. And we have seen that there's a critical area where you have not done the integration, and that is most local authorities. Who are your agents? And 3/4 of the minutes that come from these local authorities, they're either forged or sometimes they're not even genuine. Do you have any plans of integrating your system with the local authorities so that you can enhance the capacity of obtaining clean title deeds? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Let me start by assuring you that as a ministry, indeed we are taking steps to enhance the land administration in Zambia. And one of the steps that we have taken is to embark on a digital transformation that referred to as Zambia Integrated Land Administration System. It's a digital system, and it creates processes through which you are able to monitor who is interacting with the system and making it easier through what we call government bus. Our people in the local authorities, even individuals applying for titles, can interact with that system. It is also meant to further enhance security and scrutiny. However, like we have indicated, it's an ongoing process and a lot of room for improvement. And even for this bill, Honorable Chair and the members of the committee, we are coming here to make the submission with regard to the proposed amendment. And certainly, as a ministry, we are very, very open to further suggestions in terms of how we can further enhance this particular bill. If Honourable Member, there was a question from Honourable Member from Vobui who says, why don't you completely withdraw this bill? The spirit with which we have come through to your committee, Honourable Chair, is that we are open to further suggestions by different stakeholders with regard to how best we can strengthen this particular process, and taking into account most of the submissions that have been made to your committee. With that said, Chair, allow me once again to call on my colleagues to help respond to some of those specific questions that have been raised by honourable members of Parliament. And I'll still ask the Commissioner of Lands and, of course, my colleagues, Chief Registrar, my Director of Planning, Director Lands, free to come in and respond. Commissioner of Lands.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. Let me begin by taking the question regarding the concern that with the powers given to the Chief Registrar, it may trigger many more court cases. To the contrary, this amendment intends to shorten the turnaround time in resolving clear-cut fraudulent cases. As I submitted earlier, when the Chief Registrar was exercising this power under Section 11, there were very few who contested if their title was discovered to be fraud and is cancelled. They ended there. So the intention of this bill is to shorten the turnaround time in resolving clear-cut cases of fraud. For instance, the case in Kazungura, Sirembo village, which was obtained, title obtained, the chief was not aware, the royal establishment not aware. The village was almost being evicted. If they had come to us, they wouldn't have gone all the way to Court of Appeal. Would have dealt with it there and then, because the chief would have come with evidence that, look, we don't know about this title, we don't know about this man. That is the intention of this bill. So there can be no further, many more cases. A fraud is a fraud. Secondly, the question on consultation, and that we have not done this consultation, and then like the PS mentioned, the bill should be withdrawn. The best is to strengthen the bill in its current state. We are unable to make amendments to the proposed amendment because, like we've indicated, we have a challenge in our operations. We need this tool to clear-cut cases. Can you imagine a person acquires a title which includes a subdivision of another person? The two have agreed that, yes, you can go ahead and cancel, but do we have a court order? Those are matters that we can sort out. The law itself under Section 33, it mentions of misdescription of boundaries. Why should we wait for a court order to correct a misdescription of a boundary? Just because the diagram is in the title? These are the powers we are asking you members through chair that we be supported. We need this tool to clean up. I'll ask my colleagues. Director wants to say something. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, Chair. The question posed by the Honorable Member from Asaiti, saying, why do you want to go this route? We want to go this route, though we do not want to say that the powers of the court have been set aside. But we want to go this administrative route because it has worked before. I want to mention, like indicated before by other speakers, that we used to cancel this until the cited case, a Supreme Court case of Coppers Legal Practitioners versus Mwanandani Holdings in 2014, which changed the whole scenario of how the Chief Registrar manages the lands register. Before that, we used to cancel titles, and a lot of decisions were made, and progress was made from that point without having to go to court. We want to imagine a situation where an administrator of an estate has mismanaged, sold property illegally, and now when these orphans come before us, all that we can tell them is for them to go to court, when in fact we could have resolved that matter immediately and have that administrator arrested. So we are talking about making decisions that matter. We are talking about cancellations that help the ordinary person. So indeed, we want to go that route. Though there is a legal process, as you have seen, the bill provides the appellant procedure to court, to wherever, to those who can afford. But to those where administrative decisions can be made within our offices by the Chief Registrar. And by the way, the Chief Registrar will not just sit and make that decision to cancel. She or he will look at the reasons for such a cancellation. It may be an issue to do with the survey department. She or he will consult the Surveyor General to give an input. If it's a lands department, he or she will consult the Commission of Lands, or indeed myself here with other officers, even in the provinces, in order to arrive at a duly decided decision. It will not be a cancellation where somebody just sits and starts cancelling titles, not at all. So we wish the committee to support this because we go that route and we are not grabbing powers from the courts, no, because people will still be able to go to court. But administratively, we seek this authority. Thank you.
Chief Registrar.
Thank you. I think there was a question on the integration with the local authorities. So the intention with the new system that we have is to integrate with all stakeholders that we interact with in land administration. However, for us to do that, the other stakeholder must also have a digital system so that the systems can speak to each other. So there are some stakeholders who are not yet ready because they are still manual and we're not able to integrate. However, the plan is that all of them, including NRC's, for example, office, we are supposed to integrate. Then I just wanted to also add to what Director Land said. One of the challenges we find ourselves with is right now Section 11 of the Lands and Lease Registry Act allows us to correct errors, omissions on the lands register. However, you realize that a certificate of title is issued on the same lands register. So you find there's an entry where there was an error, omission, we are allowed to correct that, but when it gets to the title, we cannot. So what we are trying to ask through this bill is that even where we note that through the errors on the register, which leads to a title, we should be able to rectify that. Thank you.
Okay, before Rubukatambo comes in, and Honorable Mtech, actually I'm being reminded that you haven't answered the question that has been posed by the MP for Chama North, Honorable Mtech. So as you respond to that question, please wait for two more questions. 2-3 questions. PS, if I quoted you correctly, you were saying that you are ready for any discussions, suggestions by other stakeholders who may have questions about this bill. Now, my question is, I want to find out when will that be? Because the bill is already before Parliament. When do you intend to have those engagement with the stakeholders. Okay, then the other question I have, I heard Director Lands mentioned about the Surveyor General's office. And in your submission, also on page 1, I think you were highlighting the duties, or the duties of the Minister of Lands. You have the surveyor, this land and survey and mapping. Now, there's another stakeholder who came on this platform, and they did actually complain about some title deeds that are issued in forest areas. You find there's a title in the forest area, and I'm asking myself, how did the Surveyor General issue or sign the what you call the survey diagram, yet the land in question is in the forest reserve or forest itself? So how do you coordinate all those things? The survey department and the lands and deed. How do you manage this whole process? Because you can't have a survey diagram seated right in the forest being signed by the ministry, and you want again the Commission of Land, I mean the Chief Registrar to come and cancel a title that was issued by yourselves. And these are the concerns that have been raised by the other stakeholders. Why should we trust you as the ministry to cancel a title which was issued by yourselves as a ministry? Honorable Katambe can come in.
I just wanted to make a follow-up to the Director's responses. Director, what makes you think that the cancellation which you can do administratively will not attract any court cases? What would make you think like that? If you say you do the cancellation administratively, don't you think it will still attract court cases? The last one, Chair, is that the Constitution provides that there's this commission which shall be in provinces and districts, so that we can have the access to land and land resolution disputes through this process. Don't you think bringing this amendment of this Bill 13 is an attempt to do this good constitutional safeguard? Thank you, Chair.
PS and UTM, you can answer those questions. Please remember that the question asked by Honorable Mtacharo wasn't answered.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. As we respond to the questions asked by the Honorable Members of Parliament, particularly there was a question, as you say, Chair, which was not answered, that the land, why are you rushing without broader consultations by Honorable Mtachalo?
PS, maybe I repeat my question. I was saying that you told this committee that this bill actually is going to enhance efficiency in land administration. So my question was, don't you think that you are lengthening the process? Chief Registrar, Minister, then finally maybe someone goes to court. The process becomes longer than it is at the moment. That was my question.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Appreciating the question that the Honorable Members of Parliament have asked, Honorable Mtachalo, and also yourself, Chair, and Honorable Katambo. Let me call on my colleagues from the Ministry, Commission of Lands, and colleagues to respond to those questions that the Honorable Members of Parliament have asked, and also take into account the other question. We take into account the other question that Honorable Mtachalo had earlier asked, which he has since repeated. Commission of Lands.
Thank you so much, Chair and honorable members. The question regarding the survey diagram in the forest, the Assistant Surveyor General will take that one. Mr. Kaum.
Please.
Thank you, Chair and honorable members. Indeed, as Surveyor General, we've been facing a number of challenges with regards to data sets that are disintegrated in nature. You discover that we are coming from an era where we are doing things manually, and the rate of detection of some of these errors was actually high, and it was actually a challenge. But now, with the coming of a digital platform, in fact, with enhancement of what we call national spatial data infrastructure, which brings all different data sets, spatial data sets together, it is now easy for us to detect if at all the proposed creation falls within a protected area, as for example, a forest reserve. Unless a degazation has been undertaken, then a due process then can follow. Otherwise, if it's just an error, we are now able to detect to say this area falls within a protected area, therefore we cannot proceed and number. But these are legacy challenges that we are grappling with. But there is a program which we are supported under, which we are being supported under European Union, under land governance, where we are trying to actually do data cleaning. And most of these issues, I think, will be addressed there. I submit.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Commissioner of Lands.
Thank you so much. There was also a question regarding why should we give power to the Chief Registrar to cancel titles issued by the same ministry. Chief Registrar.
Thank you. I think, as has been mentioned, the target of this bill is not titles that have been properly issued. However, we are saying where there are titles issued where we have noted that clearly there was error, there is fraud, those are the ones that we should be able to deal with. It's not all of them where we are saying we'll just be cancelling without following what the proposed bill has highlighted. But those straightforward ones, there are some cases where somebody, for example, comes and says, I have my title here, and my son stole it and went and borrowed, and it gets like that. And you find that the parties have even agreed and have acknowledged to say, okay, here there was this, but we're still not able to do anything, and we send those people to court. So we are trying to assist those that can be handled administratively and skip the people going to court. That is the target.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner of Lands, you may add.
Thank you so much. I would like the Director to tackle the question that were directed to you. That's administrative cancellation. Would it not attract court cases? Thank you.
Chair, thanks very much. In fact, the intention of this bill is to reduce on the number of those cases that should go to court. Because even in cases where it is clear that the title doesn't sit well with the law, or even with the community or society, we are required to go to court. So our belief, and we expect that the litigation will reduce, because then when people know that there is this power which vests in the registrar, decisions such as this will be submitted before the registrar and the cancellation be done. But of course, society being what it is, this is why we have actually provided for that process of appellant up to the court, so that those that do not agree those that do not accept the decision of the registrar have got the freedom, the right to reach up to the court. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Perhaps let me come in at this stage and respond directly to the question that you asked, Honorable Chair, with regard to when do we intend to further engage with stakeholders who might give suggestions. Our understanding, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members of Parliament, is that a number of witnesses have appeared before you. There are others who have made a number of suggestions with regard to how we can further enhance or improve this bill. And there are others who might have had their different views, like some of them that we can perhaps consider to completely withdraw. The views are different, and for us, as we have been following the debate, and as the people have different witnesses have appeared before you, some indeed have given a number of suggestions. So our understanding, Honorable Chair, is that as a committee, perhaps when you do your report, there are some suggestions that have been made, and those are the ones we can also look at to consider in terms of beefing up or enhancing the bill that is before this committee, Honorable Chair. And I want to say that on a daily on any working day, we receive a lot of letters regarding the administration of land, some disputes, and like my colleagues have pointed out, most of those are sorted out administratively through the authority that has been given to the Chief Registrar, and they do not even end up in court. And however, we are saying, like we have submitted, Chair, that arising from that court ruling of 2014, perhaps we need to look at that, and as we have submitted in this submission, that we can then look at making it very explicit in terms of what authority the Chief Registrar should exercise with regard to either cleaning up title deed that has been issued with some mistakes, or that has been issued fraudulently. So this is where we are, Honorable Chair, that perhaps indeed this committee should consider to grant the Chief Registrar with that explicit authority arising from that court ruling in 2014. I submit, Chair.
Yeah, thank you very much, PS. The question that was asked by Honorable Katambo hasn't been answered. Maybe it's because we are loading you with so many questions. So we will kindly request you, if you can answer the question, maybe you can repeat the question, Honorable Katambo.
I beg your pardon, Chair. Perhaps I may have missed the question that Honorable Katambo asked. We may...
Chair, I did indicate to the PS and the team that the Constitution provides for the Commission, which should be in provinces and districts, so that we can have access to land and resolutions of disputes through this process. I said that Bill 13 is an attempt to undo this good constitutional safeguard, so I needed their comment, Chair.
You can proceed.
I understand, Chair. I think Honorable Katambo was talking about the operationalization of the Lands Commission. Commission of Lands, may you perhaps tackle this particular question, as you had earlier alluded to it? Commission of Lands.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Honorable Members. As I attempted earlier to give a response. We recognize the provisions of Article 233 providing for the Commission. However, Chair, as you may be aware, the Commission is not yet in place. On the other hand, we are saying we have challenges in our operations. So this bill is not even an attempt to undo this safeguard the Commission that is stated in the Constitution. What we are saying is, for now, we need this tool to help us continue operating smoothly as we save the Zambian people. We are also working towards operationalization of this bill, the Article 233 Commission. However, as we are moving towards establishing the Commission, we still need this tool for us to keep serving our people efficiently. Thank you.
Thank you very much. PS and your team. The other stakeholders who appeared here, did they actually emphasize that the powers which will be granted to the Chief Registrar will be way too much? And they did actually indicate that if we leave those powers to the registrar, Chief Registrar, then definitely it will become too dangerous, especially for even investors. The investors, they did indicate also to say the investor confidence in the country might go down because the financial market might end up collapsing because of the same issue of cancelling title deeds. Now, I wanted the Chief Registrar to give a roadmap because I have seen that people are failing to understand the appealing process. And also in your submission, you have not also stated a temporal relief, because the fear of people is that if a title deed is cancelled and given to another person, that person can easily sell the property within, or that land or property within a month of appealing. So maybe if you could guide, what does it mean that the powers or the rights of individuals who are affected, for instance, to place a caveat, will be withdrawn? So those are the issues that are actually circulating in the public out there. So maybe if you could clarify on that. Honorable Katambo, Honorable Mtachalo, you can also ask a question before you come in, Honorable Mtachalo. The other issue that I want to find out also from the ministry, there are suggestions, proposals, that instead of giving powers to the Chief Registrar to cancel the title deed, why don't we come up with a matrosectoral body that will look at these cases and then recommend to the Chief Registrar for possible cancellation? So these are some of the issues that we've been discussing. So I want to find out whether you are open to those suggestions as the Ministry of Lands. Thank you. Honorable Mtachalo.
Thank you, Chair. To me, it's just a short one. PS, there is this concern that the bill has not provided for compensation. For example, someone who appeals to the minister, not satisfied with the decision of the Chief Registrar. So appeals to the minister, and the minister overturns the Chief Registrar's decision. But in the process, this person has incurred expenses. So there's no that provision. Unlike when this person goes to court, the court will be able to grant damages and the costs. Just wanted to comment on that one.
Yes, you can go ahead and answer those.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Let me directly respond to the question that you also asked, and of course I will ask my colleagues to also help respond. I did mention the Chair earlier in my responding to some of the questions, and I also the Commission of Lands did indicate that the spirit with which we have come here is that we are amenable of suggestions that can help further enhance or strengthen this proposed amendment. And I did indicate that we are also aware that some of the witnesses that have become before you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members of Parliament, have made a number of positive suggestions. So we are indeed amenable to those recommendations or suggestions. You did ask as to whether we'll have time to interact with other stakeholders, given that the bill is before your committee. And we did respond that we know that through your committee you have also been in a position to take note of some of the positive recommendations that have been made by other witnesses, and to those we are certainly amenable with a view of further enhancing this particular bill. That's what I would say, Honorable Chair, to respond to your question directly. At this point, if you allow me, let me again call upon my colleagues, particularly the Commissioner of Lands and Chief Registrar, to respond to some of those questions that the honorable members have asked through the Chair. Commissioner of Lands.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. On the question of the Chief Registrar being granted powers, they will be way too much and dangerous to investors, investor confidence. I will allow the Chief Registrar to take that one.
Thank you, Chair. So on that one, as indicated earlier, it's not like the Chief Registrar will just wake up and start cancelling titles. The bill has provided for grounds under which the titles can be cancelled. So whatever decision the Chief Registrar will be making, they must be aware that the same bill has provided for appeal processes. And if a decision that is made is outside the grounds that have been stated, that is subject to being challenged. So the bill has provided for an appeal to a higher office, the minister's office, and eventually to the courts. So even as this Chief Registrar is exercising those rights, they must be aware that there are confines within which that must be done, and whatever decision is made, it doesn't end there. It can be challenged. So for me, that is a safeguard that the bill has tried to provide for, that it doesn't end there. And if the grounds are not followed, this will be appealed against, and eventually government will be running into courts if it's found that the Chief Registrar then is just making decisions that are not within the law. I submit. And then there was another question on the rights of individuals while a decision has been made, maybe in the appeal process. The Act still provides for caveats, so you can still apply for a caveat that you still have an interest and you have appealed. Eventually, if it gets to court, you even get an injunction and an order to come and register on that property that nothing should be done until it's finally settled. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. There was also a question regarding temporary reliefs not provided for and multi-sectoral body to be considered. Honorable Chair, we take note of these points because they are indeed not there in our bill, but just as PS mentioned, these are some of the things we can take on board to ensure that this bill is strengthened, but not to be thrown away, because we really need it and it's necessary for our operation in order to even enhance or increase investor confidence. Because we wouldn't want a situation where investors know that in Zambia titles are not safe. We want a system that is predictable with high integrity, that our titles that will be out there are titles that are genuine titles. Any fraudulently obtained title will not find itself out there to be used. That's the intention of this bill. I submit. Thank you, Chair.
PS, you're concluding. You have a question? Okay.
Thank you so very much, Chair, and thank you, witness, for the elaborate presentation. But I think I believe we make laws for the citizen of the country, and I believe, witness, you are here serving the same citizens in maybe presenting this same amendment. I have noticed, Chair, that a lot of stakeholders, I think, have been complaining that there was no thorough consultations, and I think they raised a lot of issues before this committee. Now, I was trying to find out or to suggest that is it not good for maybe the ministry to first consult with these stakeholders, so that even as this bill would be brought before this committee, it should have a lot of maybe suggestions which were raised by the stakeholders included, so that even as we present it before the House, I think it should have a lot of necessary inclusions. I submit, Chair. Thank you so very much. So the idea is, can't we hold a bit so that the consultations are done first before it can be brought before Parliament? I submit, Chair.
Yes, you can answer that question.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, Honourable Members of Parliament. The Honourable Member of Parliament, Vobu constituency, is suggesting that perhaps we should consider to defer the bill. We want to say, Chair, here that we have appeared before you. We have indicated the reasons as to why we are proposing this particular amendment, and we have also indicated that at this stage we are also aware that even as we have been able to follow the debate and the submissions that have been made before this honorable committee, a number of stakeholders have indeed made positive suggestions with regard to enhancement of the bill, and I think our position is that we are certainly amenable to most of those positive suggestions that have been made, and we also know that this committee certainly in requesting to support this bill, there are certainly positive and strong suggestions that have been made that can still be used to further strengthen the bill. Like we said, this is a bill that is before this Parliament, and I know once the report is made, recommendations will be made, and as a ministry, we'll be able to look at the position of the committee. But I think we have taken time to explain, to answer the questions that might have been in the minds of the honourable members of Parliament with regard to indeed how best we can enhance this particular bill. So the rest, we believe, Chair, will be up to this honourable committee with regard to the recommendation that will be made. Importantly, in conclusion, Honourable Chair, we are amenable to those positive suggestions that will be made by different stakeholders and indeed this honourable committee. Honourable Chair, submit.
Thank you very much, PS and your team. Your concluding remarks?
In concluding, Chair, we just want to sincerely thank you and the honourable members of Parliament present here for having given us an opportunity to make this important submission, and we are very positive that the committee will favorably look at the noble intention that we have submitted through the proposed amendment. We want to ultimately come up with the Lands and Deeds Registry Act that will certainly enhance efficiency and see to it that the different stakeholders, particularly the people in the margins in the rural areas who have become victims of fraudsters with regard to land administration, that those are minimized, and indeed we protect the interest of different stakeholders, including the investors, including the property owners, including those people in peri-urban areas, rural areas, who should also have access to land, and ultimately help us to, Honorable Chair, to efficiently and effectively enhance land management and administration in our country. Once again, Chair, just to sincerely thank you and the honorable members for the opportunity that you have granted us to appear before you. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you very much, PS, for your submission. We have actually come to the end of our interaction. At the beginning of our conversation, we had actually given you immunity, Cap 12, so now we want to withdraw that immunity. So thank you for coming, and we hope to see you in our next engagement in future. You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chair, and everyone was.
It's a lovely afternoon, and once again I'll say thank you very much for still being locked onto Parliament TV, the station that is dedicated to bringing Parliament closer to you. That was a submission from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, and the Controlling Officer, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, is the one that made the submission to the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources. Remember, the committee is looking at the Lands and Deeds Registry Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 13 of 2025, and that was what just took place, and we hope that you've enjoyed watching Parliament TV from the time we started airing the deliberations in the committees. So just if you just tuned in, just winding down some moments ago was a submission from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, a submission that was made to the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources, and the committee is looking at the Lands and Deeds Registry Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 13 of 2025. Parliament TV, the station that is dedicated to bringing Parliament closer to you.